Ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a treat today because I'm going to tell you about the 15 reasons why I love Medford, Oregon, covering all of the good stuff that you should expect, like the climate and the cost of living, plus a few things that you are not going to see coming, some surprises, okay? So if you're thinking about moving or relocating to Medford, Oregon, you are definitely going to want to know about those surprises. So why don't we just go ahead and jump right on into it? Number one is obviously gotta be the climate, okay? It's one of the top reasons people reach out to me. They're thinking, hey, you know what? I live over in the desert, or I live up in the rainforest by Portland or Seattle, and I just cannot take it anymore. I need to get out. And that's what we have here. We have a nice mild climate in Medford, Oregon, okay? Warm summers, cool winters, not too warm, not too cool. It's just right. We'll break 100 in the summer sometimes, and we'll maybe even get down into the 20s or teens in the winters, but it's pretty rare to get outside of that range. But what you're really gonna love about the weather in Medford, Oregon is the approximately 200 days of sunshine that we get per year, giving you a lot of opportunity to get out there and walk the dog or play around in your garden or work on your suntan or whatever it is that you like to do in the sunshine, because you are going to have a lot of it to deal with, unlike the rest of the state up north, which doesn't get so much. Number two is the cost of living, and that is quite possibly the second most common reason people reach out to me about relocating to Medford, Oregon, or one of our other beautiful cities around Southern Oregon. People living in other states like California are just tired of getting robbed with ridiculous housing prices, high income taxes, and then when you actually do get, a little portion of your earnings called your paycheck, you then have to pay another 7.25% on everything that you buy with that paycheck. No thank you. Come on up to the promised land, but just don't bring those policies with you, because we don't like that here. We want to have an affordable cost of living, okay? We like it. I help people all the time move to Oregon from other states where they're, selling their house for top dollar and paying cash for a home here because it is so much more affordable, okay? You can get a pretty nice newer home in the mid 400s, okay? They're pretty common around here. And I know the locals are gonna freak out in the comments about that one. How dare you say the housing is cheap, okay? I can't even afford my rent. Listen, it is cheap compared to places like LA or the Bay Area or Seattle or even Portland and Bend in our own state. I agree though, it is not cheap compared to maybe what you started, renting your apartment for 20 years ago, or what you bought your house for 20 years ago. It is not cheap compared to that, but what is, right? Give me a little bit of a break here. Number three is my favorite, which is the outdoor recreation, okay? This place is like Disneyland for outdoor enthusiasts, right? Minus the long lines and the $20 corn dogs. But my point is, there is a lot to do in Medford, Oregon that gets you outside, like hiking, okay? And I did a really cool video about hiking the Table Rock trails that you're gonna wanna check out. It was pretty fun. Check it out. But there's also whitewater rafting and skiing and snowboarding and camping and hunting and fishing, which I actually just did a couple weeks ago with a friend of mine. We went winter steelhead fishing. I caught 2 fish, he caught 1 fish, just saying. You know who you are. But the outdoor recreational opportunities here are absolutely endless. So endless, in fact, that we had to make another reason of why I love Medford, Oregon, and call it sports, which is number 4, okay? The abundance of sports is the 4th reason why I love Medford, Oregon, because there's just so many things to do, okay? So many options for mountain biking or road biking or golfing or pickleball or running. I don't think running is a sport, but let's just keep it in there anyways. In addition to all the various city league sports that you can do, like softball, basketball, volleyball, and on and on and on. The sports are just endless. But maybe you just want to be a sports spectator instead of a sports participant, and that's okay too, because we still got you covered in that case, because we have Southern Oregon University, which has all sorts of athletics, football, baseball, basketball, softball, all sorts of stuff there to go over and watch over in Ashland, plus all of the semi-pro teams that we have here in Southern Oregon, like the Medford Rogues baseball team, and there's a semi-pro football team and a hockey team and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I think the sports is definitely worthy of an entirely separate reason why I love Medford, Oregon. Number 5 is the most important, actually the 3 most important things about real estate, which is location, 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 okay? And the location of Medford, Oregon is phenomenal. We are located in Southern Oregon, about 25 miles north of the California border, surrounded by national forests, national parks, and more beauty than you can shake a stick at. Interstate 5 runs north-south right through the city of Medford, and then Highway 99 is nearby, and that could take you west over to the Oregon coast. Highway 140 is nearby, and that could take you east over into eastern Oregon into the high desert. And so there is a lot of options to get out in any direction and go anywhere. Within 3 hours, you could be eating some fresh clam chowder or tearing up the sand dunes at the Oregon coast. In 4 hours, you could be up in Portland if there's, for some reason, you wanted to visit up there. In 5 hours, you could be in the Bay Area, or in the same amount of time, you can go to a much nicer route and go to Lake Tahoe, which is absolutely gorgeous. As a matter of fact, I actually just did that last weekend with my family and some friends, and it was incredible. We went snow skiing with the kids and enjoyed some of the beautiful scenery and fresh mountain air. We actually go do that a number of times a year because it is such an easy drive. It's 5 hours, beautiful drive that takes you right by Mount Shasta, Lassen National Park, and up into the Sierra Nevadas into Lake Tahoe, which, as a fun little fact, is where my wife and I got married. Moving on to number 6 is the medical scene. Okay, I'm a pretty big believer that medical kind of just sucks no matter where you're at, but here in Medford, it really doesn't suck so much, all right? So let me explain what's going on here. We have the Asante health system here in Medford, Oregon, which is a top 15 health system in the country, and it has been for many years, 10, I believe, okay? And this includes the Rogue Regional Medical Center, which is a regional medical center that serves around 600,000 people across Southern Oregon and Northern California. They're really well known for their cardiac care, but they offer all sorts of the major things that most people are concerned about. As a matter of fact, they just opened up a new 323,000 square foot building with added capacity and new technology, a children's hospital, a birthing center, and the region's only level 3 neonatal intensive care unit, which is pretty incredible. So there's definitely a lot to love there, and that is why the medical is number 6 on this list. But let's move on to number 7 now, and that is that it is a really great retirement area. Okay, so we talked about the things that are important to most retirees, right? The climate, there's a lot of things to do outside, the cost of living is good, and the medical scene is good. So that pretty much checks all the boxes for people looking to retire. So again, go ahead and reach on out if that's you. You can go ahead and hit that pause button, and I'll still be here waiting. Welcome back, and I actually hear you over there. You're thinking, hey, you know what? I like the outdoors, but I need a little bit of culture in my life. So that brings us to number 8, and that is, in fact, the culture. So believe it or not, little old Podunk, Southern Oregon actually has some pretty good culture going for us down here. Ashland is kind of the hot spot for that, being a college town and all. But the area overall has some really good stuff going on to fill in that cultural need that you've got. For example, the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, okay? Go check out a world-class play there, or a performance at the Criterion Theater, or a concert at the Brit Festival. And if that's not enough, there are countless art galleries that line the streets of Jacksonville and Ashland. We also have a really incredible wine scene here in Southern Oregon with tons of different vineyards and tasting rooms scattered all across Southern Oregon. And really, what's more culture than sipping on a nice glass of local wine, soaking in the natural beauty of the area, right? Number 9, let's shake things up a little bit with politics. What? He's talking about politics? Yeah, because here's the deal. One of the things that I love about Medford, Oregon is the fact that it's not some hyper-political area, okay? It's not a sanctuary city, and you're also not going to see the KKK marching down Main Street, okay? Like anywhere, there's some hyper-political people, but for the most part, the locals here don't ask about your politics, and they don't preach about theirs, which means that everyone pretty much feels welcome. Jackson County as a whole is definitely conservative leaning, but it's really not by much. Just over 50% voted Republican in the last election, to about 47% voting Democrat. And that's pretty even. The big contrast comes in the difference between Ashland, which is very liberal, and rural Jackson County, which is very conservative. So if you're more into that granola, tofu, Tesla crowd, then we have some places that you're gonna really love. But that's really what I think makes this area so awesome, is that there's something for everyone here, and that no matter which side you're on, I don't think you're gonna feel like an outcast. Number 10 is the neighborhoods. What? The neighborhoods? Listen, okay, let me explain. There are some super cool neighborhoods in Medford, Oregon, okay, in the surrounding areas. And again, something for everyone, really. So East Medford, Eagle Trace, Saddle Ridge, that whole area on the east side of town, it is more of the high-end, kind of expensive part of town, as is Jacksonville and Ashland. But if we're focused on Medford, those are some pretty high-end parts of Medford. West Medford, on the other hand, is more of the lower-priced, budget-friendly part of town, okay? Then you have some areas that have a little bit of both, like the Bear Creek area or Old East Medford, where you have some nice, big, beautiful, old, original homes on some big, beautiful lots mixed in with some places that could use a little bit of updating. And then there's North Medford in the area around Springbrook and Cedar Links, which has been seeing a ton of development and growth lately, as is South Medford in the area towards Kings Highway and the South Stage Road. Number 11 is the educational opportunities. And before we dive into this one, I want to give a quick shout out to my kids who are proud students of Grace Christian School, which I'll explain more about here in just a second. But Jackson County overall has 9 school districts, if you can believe it, okay? There's 24 public elementary schools, 14 middle schools, and 9 public high schools, and that's in addition to the charter schools and private schools. So there are a lot of options. No matter what your situation is, no matter what your views are, you will find some options to fit your tastes. If you want a public school and all the pros and cons that go along with that, great, you have options there. If you want a private school and all the pros and very expensive cons that go along with that, great, you've got options there. I get asked this question a lot though about schools and what do I believe and what do I think about that in my own experience in Southern Oregon. So let me explain that, okay? So I personally went to the public school from kindergarten through 12th grade here in the Real River School District, which is one of the 9 in Jackson County, and I loved it. I had a really, really great experience. But my wife and I have elected to send our kids to Grace Christian, which is a private elementary and middle school that's affiliated with the Cascade Christian High School. And we did it because it aligns with our beliefs and frankly because of the safety and security. You see, it's just a different world now than it was back when I was in school. Back then, we didn't have to worry about boys going into girls' bathrooms or girls going into boys' bathrooms or any of that sort of stuff. And that's something that we want to ensure our kids don't have to worry about either. So that's part of the reason that we chose what we chose. And if you have different beliefs than that, that's great. There's a lot of options out there, and I'm sure you'll be able to find one that fits your beliefs for your family. In addition to all the K through 12 options, there's also Rogue Community College and Southern Oregon University that provide some great options for higher education. Moving on, the 12th reason of why I love Medford, Oregon is it's just fun. With all the good weather, the people of Medford, Oregon have done a really good job of creating fun things to do. For example, the Rogue X Community Complex, which is a brand new aquatics and event center. It's really, really awesome. There's also the Family Fun Center nearby in Central Point that has an arcade and mini golf and batting cages and go-karts. There's Lava Lanes, which is a bowling alley that's really amazing. There's tons and tons of parks and bike paths and lots of fun events throughout the year, like the Art and Bloom Festival or the Pear Blossom Festival or the Craft Brew Festival. There's car shows and cruises. There's the Sportsman's Outdoor Show. There's a home show at the expo. There's concerts. There's so many more things to do and a lot of fun to have. Number 13, in my opinion, it is a great place to raise a family, okay? We have low crime rates, nice parks, great school choices. There's loads of things to do outside like we discussed, so you don't have to worry about your kids staying inside all day staring at the iPad screen. Tell them, get out there, go for a hike, go biking, go build a fort, go play in the woods, and go get poison oak. Don't do that, just kidding. But as a parent, that's one of my truly favorite things about this area is that there's just so many fun things to go do outside with the kids and get them away from the screens and get them away from the video games and all this stuff of online. One of our favorite things to do is just pile the family into the Jeep and go for a drive up into the mountains, okay? If there's snow, we'll bring the sleds and some cocoa. If it's hot out, we'll bring some swimsuits and try to find a cool swimming hole. We like to go around and see if we can find some deer or wildlife and just explore new places that we haven't been in. It's just a lot of fun to be outdoors together, and I think that's something that if you move to Medford, Oregon, you will enjoy as well, I'm sure. Number 14 is the growth, okay? Medford, Oregon is a fast-growing city. As a matter of fact, it is the fastest growing city in Oregon of any real size, okay? It grew by about 3% and just eclipsed the 90,000 resident mark. But Southern Oregon as a whole has about 312,000 residents, so it makes Medford definitely the biggest city in the area. But that growth has brought in companies like Amazon, who has building a warehouse in the Central Point area. It's brought in REI and Dick's Sporting Goods, who've opened up shop here in the last 10 years, and more recently In-N-Out and Chick-fil-A and other big national and big regional brands that have decided to open up locations around Medford, Oregon. At number 15, last but absolutely not least, is an international airport. Now, I'm not sure why it's called an international airport without actually having any real international passenger flights, but that is what it's called. So if you happen to know the answer to that, why don't you leave that down in the comment section down below, because I've been dying to know it. I've been curious for literally like the last 15 years. So if somebody could solve that mystery, I would greatly appreciate it. Anyways, the Medford Airport flies to several major hubs like Seattle, Portland, Denver, LA, San Francisco, Salt Lake City, and from those places you can connect to pretty much anywhere in the world. We also have direct flights to Las Vegas and Phoenix if you want to get out there and have some fun out in the desert. And the best thing about this big international airport is that you don't have to show up hours before your flight like you would at a bigger airport like LAX or Seattle or something like that, okay? I honestly can't remember the last time it took more than 5 minutes for me to get through security. So if you're from one of those big areas with a big airport, you're gonna love the Medford International Airport. Before we put a bow on this, I want to tell you about one more thing that I love, which is this video right here, and it's definitely one that you're going to want to check out. And so if there's anything I can do to help you learn, buy, or list real estate here in Southern Oregon, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Again, I'm Brian Simmons. I'm with eXp Realty here in Southern Oregon, and I will see you on the next video.